This is going to be a Speedruns Explained done live of each phase of Kuon. So, the first thing that I always do when I play Kuon is I turn vibration off and I put the language in Japanese. The first one is because of the vertigo effect in Kuon. You do not ever want to have vibration on or you're gonna end up with carpal tunnel or at least some severe hand pain because the controller will be vibrating almost the entire run unless you turn vibration off. Some people may enjoy that. I don't, so I turn vibration off. The Japanese to English one is this game, like a lot of games from this era, has both the Japanese and the English voice acting in it. I don't know if it does that in the Japanese version, but I'm pretty sure it does it in both the PAL and the US versions. But we will be playing the NTSC-U version of Kuon. Now, for those who don't know, theoretically, the PAL version is faster. I say theoretically because it hasn't been tested on console to my awareness because of just the rarity of this game. The PAL version lacks one of the early game puzzles entirely, and because it lacks that puzzle, it could theoretically be faster, so it will pretty much always be the one that is run on emulator. But because of the differences in how PAL region games and NTSC region games are run, that's why I said it's only theoretically faster, because of things like load times and the fact that PAL consoles are in 50 hertz and PAL games are in 50 hertz versus NTSC being in 60 hertz. So it's like 50 frames per second, 60 frames per second. It's complicated. So because the time save would only be a few seconds, like about maybe 10-15 seconds from PAL versus NTSC, that's why it might not be. I have the US version, so that's what I'm playing. Anyway, we're going to start with Yin phase. So Yin phase, you're playing as Utsuki. She is adorable. She's also not that bright. But you won't be seeing most of that because we will be skipping all of the cutscenes because this is a speedrun and we are going to hit go. And you're going to be skipping through all of the cutscenes to start. Now, one thing that you want to make sure you do is not do what I just did. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I mash the button too much, but you want to make sure you pick up that dust. Dust is a healing item in this game. Now, you may ask why I'm picking that up. It is entirely because it is the trigger for a cutscene. I'm not picking it up. Oh. Don't mind that. There we go. So, I picked that up purely because it is the trigger for a cutscene slash it's a trigger for a body to appear in this next area. So if you don't pick up that dust, the body won't appear. So I picked up that dust, so the body appeared. It's this body here. Now you want to pick up that silkworm disc, and we also want to pick up this nail slash metal spike. Now you need to make sure you pick up both of them. I had a very bad line there. You can get it where you pick up both of them without even stopping, which is best way to do it. When I'm not trying to explain the run for a Speedruns Explained, it's actually fairly easy to get both of them without stopping. Now, the reason why movement in this game is, in my opinion, more important than it is in a lot of horror games specifically, but Japanese games in general, is Kuon is weird with its movement. So, even though this game has access to both 3D and 2D control schemes, aka tank controls, never use the tank controls because they don't work very well. They don't feel like Resident Evil tank controls. It's hard to explain without shoving a control in your hand, but trust me, the tank controls in this game are ass. You need to make sure you play it on 3D control scheme. Now, you need to talk to those kids in order to trigger another cutscene. Quite a few of the things that you do in this game, unlike in games like Resident Evil, where you use items to progress, quite a few times you have to interact with things or pick up things that seem to be out of the way that don't make any sense that they are mandatory, like notes, in order to trigger things later on. Now we are having a cutscene where we meet Utsuki, or not Utsuki, where we meet Sakuya, who is the person that will be playing in Yang phase. They only, in the Yin phase of the game, they only see each other a couple times, but they see each other a lot more in Yang phase. Which doesn't make any sense, but that's fine. So, we just gave up something called the earth, open scroll thingamabob. So, instead of having normal keys, the doors in this game are locked with bloody pieces of cloth, named after, I didn't dodge that, named after different planets. There is Earth, Saturn, Uranus, Mercury. I want to say there's one more, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So we had the Earth one in the beginning of the game as Utsuki, but we never came across an Earth door before we gave it to Sakuya. And because we gave it to Sakuya, that means we don't have it and we're going to have to find it later. It's a little annoying, but it's fine. This is the shorter, it's the middle technically, but it's the shorter of the two primary runs of this game. So I'm going to go in here. Now if you're playing this casually, you wouldn't necessarily know to go in here just yet. But because I do know how to play this game, we're going to go in here right now. So this puzzle, the thing you need to know is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 right, 3 left, 5 right. That's all you need to know. How do you figure out the solution to that puzzle? Don't worry about it. It's not worth it. So, one thing... Oh, right, I mentioned the stamina. So, one thing to know about the stamina in Kuon is it's weird. You will be holding down the circle button for almost the entirety of this game. Now, unlike a lot of Japanese horror games like Fatal Frame and such that sensibly put the run button on square, this game has it on circle. And because of that, I hold the controller weird. I hold it like this. Because it is not feasible to button mash X and hold the circle button if you're holding the controller normally. This way, I can actually button mash X and hold the circle button to run at the same time. Now, you don't necessarily have to do it this way, but it's the way that's more comfortable for me to do it. Okay. So technically that cutscene and all of that wibbly-wobbliness can get triggered in both run-throughs of Yin and Yang phase, but you only ever see it during the Yin phase playthrough because it's the only one where it's mandatory. Right, stamina. So, you can see the wibble wobbles on my screen. That's what I call them when the screen goes all funky. And they are now gone. There are 2 versions of that. It is called vertigo. There's vertigo caused by damage, and there's vertigo caused by spooky spookies. Vertigo caused by spooky spookies goes away after a while. Vertigo caused by damage is your only indication that you are 1 hit from death. So you don't like wibbly wobblies, but it is generally easy to tell which one is from spooks and which one is from damage, because the one that you get from damage happens when you are damaged, not when you are spooked. Alright, so I just got another sacred cloth, that's what they're called. A sacred cloth, and we're about to get another one. From our dear old daddy dearest. We don't like this guy. He may be our papa, but he is a jerk. We don't like him, so we're going away. Now, if anybody has any questions about Kuon or this run, please let me know so I can have more to talk about. Alright. Now, one thing that you can do to try and not have your fingers hate you while you're playing this game, having to hold circle for the entire run, and the reason why you can't let go of it is this. She's not running. I'm holding circle and she didn't run for a second. Especially if you are damaged, the game will not let you hold the run button, or won't let you run for a few seconds after you let go of the run button. So in order to keep up maximum run, you need to keep the button down. Alright, we're going to use those pliers that I got here, and you want to hold up and left. Yeah, he's going to grab you here, but I'm going to glitch slightly into his character model and grab the item behind him. That is another metal spike. That is the closest thing to a glitch this game has as of now. Now, the reason why you do that, then you make sure you get grabbed in. As far as I know, grabbing does not actually cause damage, only when they hit you. So the reason why you do that is you glitch slightly into his hitbox, is what I'm thinking is happening, and it lets you grab the item that's behind him. That stops you from having to get around that enemy, which is pretty sweet, because they're annoying. That was Gollum? Yes, it was. Games like that, no run toggle? Yes. At least Fatal Frame lets you hold the run button to run for it automatically, but no, you have to hold the run button and then push a directional button to run in this game. Okay. Now, one thing that you can do to help with finger fatigue in this game, I just picked up 2 items there. Make sure you grab the Guardian Dog. Don't forget it. So you need to get both that little scroll there and the Guardian Dog. Do not forget the Guardian Dog, or you're gonna need to reset your run because you're gonna be losing a lot of time coming back for it. Okay. So one thing that you can do is, this game has 2 types of loading screens. It has this type of loading screen, and you can let go of the circle here. The second the words go away, make sure you're holding the circle button, or you're going to lose the ability to run for a few seconds. But you can use the long door transitions in order to give yourself a little bit of finger rest. Now, you don't necessarily want to do that on short load screens, and I'll show you one of those in a second. Now, this is very important. Don't click, click. You want to wait a half second, because this puzzle specifically... Okay. This puzzle specifically has a glitch. If you button mash through that explanation too quickly, then the game can bug out, and it will force you to do the puzzle again. It will not actually trigger that the puzzle was completed. So you need to make sure you wait a half second before you actually go through the puzzle tutorial. I don't know how I lost 10... Oh, right! I was trying to say, look, how did I lose 10 seconds there? It's because that happened during my world record run. Now, my current world record for Yen Phase actually has that glitch in it. So if you want to go see that, go and look at that. Alright. So now we are going to get a good example of what I was mentioning earlier, where things you didn't think would be necessary are in fact necessary, like picking up a random health item earlier in the game. We are going to go pick up something called a Servant's Memorandum. You have to pick that up in both Yen Phase and Yang Phase, but it's just a note. It doesn't mean anything. It's not story mandatory, as in, like, it doesn't reveal anything super important about the game. But it forces you to grab that in order to cause something completely arbitrary to happen. Alright. So we're going to pick it up. Picked it up. Now here, don't move. Now you may move. You want to wait for a second there at that door in order to manipulate the enemies to make them both jump at you. If you can, you always want to try to manipulate enemies to jump at you. Now, because I picked up that Servant's Memorandum, these guys are going to bust through that wall. They will not bust through that wall if you do not pick up that note. So you need to make sure you pick up that note. And see, I just did it there again. That one's a little bit harder to get consistently, but you want to try to get as many of the enemies to jump at you instead of attacking you as possible, because it is always faster for them to jump at you because they don't actually grab you or stop your character from moving. Some places it's harder than others, but... Okay. Now this is our first boss. What you want to do is equip this and equip the doggos. Now this is my strategy for this fight. And you see that I used an item there? You want to make sure, there we go, that you use an item after you equip, because if you do not do that, you are going to have a hard time. Because during Vertigo, you cannot cast spells. Now I'm focusing, I will explain this fight after, because I need to focus on it. So that was a really bad fight, mostly because I was explaining things. But, so that is Lord Fujiwara. He will be the first boss fight no matter which of the 2 primary phases that you play, Yin or Yang. You will always fight him first, and he is the most RNG of the bosses because of that. You don't have access to as many tools. I'm getting grabbed here, and sometimes you can use getting grabbed in order to push enemies, which is nice. Okay, so in that boss fight, you guys saw me lag a bit between my shots. Now the reason for that is I was trying to time them because the enemies in this game, specifically the bosses, have iframes or invincibility frames out ass. Come on, let me buy. Now, because they have iframes out the ass, you are going to have difficulty hitting them, and difficulty being able to tell when to hit them. It's kind of hard for me to explain this. I would say that you should probably just put a save as close to the boss as possible and practice. Because you need to be able to tell when the enemy has iframes and when they didn't. And you also need to take into consideration that all of your spells are, what's the word? Projectile, for the most part. Your spells are projectile. Now, because of that, there we go, she's still running, cool. Now, because they are still projectile, you need to sort of account for that, because if you don't, you know, you may think the enemy doesn't have iframes, but by the time the projectile gets to them, they do have iframes. That heartbeat sound is, yes and no. It's not because I'm on low health. The heartbeat sound is because I've been running the whole time. The game does not like you running the whole time. But, oh, shit. Okay. I just messed that up. So don't do what I just did. By the way, do not, under any circumstances, do what I just did. Because I just messed up a later boss fight, but it's okay, there's backup strats. And I will explain that when we get to that point. I accidentally hit triangle and I meant to hit square. Now what you want to do there, what I didn't do, and what you should do, is use your fire spell, which for me is on square, and hit that enemy once or twice. So I'm usually able to do it in one hit, but you can do it in two. Now what you want to do is you want to just ram into that guy, and the second you come into contact with him, do a spell. It'll knock him backwards, keep running into him, and if you are able to, usually you can squeak by him without actually having to kill him or using any other items. That is ideal. Sometimes you'll have to do 2 hits. Generally you can get by with 1. At most, it should take 3. Now, if you want to be safe, you can kill him with about 5 hits of the fire spell, but that is not ideal because that takes time, and we don't like that. Like a lot of horror games, a lot of this game is running away from the enemies. And pretty much unless it is mandatory to kill them, you don't want to because that takes time and that is slow. Alright. Gotta drink tea in order to keep my voice in check. What is this game about? Mulberry trees, silkworms, and cannibalism. Also, it's made by the people who made Dark Souls. Alright, so this is the Silkworm Puzzle. It is fairly easy. Throughout the playthrough, I've picked up 3 discs. Now, use the 3 discs on that puzzle. And the way that you know the solution is the first one that you will always put down is the Silkworm Cocoon one. That is always the one that goes on top. The one that it will automatically populate with next, I can't actually remember which disc it is, but that one always goes on the bottom right, and the last one always goes on the bottom left. If you can remember, first one goes on top, second one goes bottom right, third one goes bottom left, you're good, because no matter what order you pick them up in, they will always populate in the puzzle the same way. Okay. Oh, right, the heartbeat sound. Heartbeat sound is because I've been running for too long and or I have vertigo. And don't worry, I will explain where I should have used the dog. Alright, this is another indication of picking up an item that you do not need at all, and it being the trigger for something. Because if you did not pick up that blade, that little cutscene there would not have triggered. Alright, so we're going to trigger this cutscene here, try and skip it as quickly as possible, and mash X. If you get lucky, you'll pick up the medicine jar. That saves you a few seconds. If not, and trust me, most of the time I can't even manage that, all you need to do is, it's right on the floor at your feet. It's right on the floor at your feet. Oh, can you, like, not hit me right now? I'm busy. Alright. Now, that screen transition, the one directly before this one, make sure that you are pushing up on the either directional pad or thumbstick. Now you see here, I turned around, immediately hit the other direction on the thumbstick. You will always turn around there because the control scheme is just weird. Now you're going to trigger this cutscene and you're going to skip it. And then I'm going to show you something that I never use in the run. Now, in Yin phase, I never use this. I do use it usually in one specific spot. Now, I'm wasting a bunch of time here, but this is an explanation vid, so it's fine. I'm going to press R1. This is an ability called Meditate. This game gives you the ability to fully heal yourself wherever you are at any point in the game without using any consumables. Now, I just picked that up for extra because that's part of my safety strat. Now, you don't have to pick that up. Generally, in a run, you don't. If you do want to pick up some more spells, there it is for safety. Now, that Meditate ability is slow, and it desummons any summoned monsters you have. So never, ever, ever use Meditate in a boss fight. Because especially if you are using a strategy that requires you to summon creatures, it will despawn all of your summons, and that is bad. Now, you want to make sure you go slightly to the right or slightly to the left there, because if you go dead center, you are going to trigger a vertigo event. And you do not want to trigger that vertigo event because it summons a ghost, and it will make your life a little bit more difficult in this area. Alright. This is Dark Souls before the devs decided to be really mean, yes. In fact, not only is it that, but this game only has moving lips in 2 cutscenes. So it has a lot in common with Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Bloodborne. With the lots of dialogue, lots of close-up shots on faces, no lips moving. Bunnies? Yes, I do have bunnies. I have 2 of them. Their names are Garrus and Tally, and they are adorable. Alright. Now, this area is a pain in the butt. Now, it may look like I have vertigo, but I don't. Until I hit here. This game just has a bunch of screen blur. Now, be careful here. Try to go to the left on this guy. If you're lucky, you won't get hit. Now, mash X to pick up the scythe. Now, here, do what I do. Walk. Do not run. Now start running. The reason you want to walk there... Let me go, please. The reason you want to walk there is that camera angle is literally the worst camera angle in the entire game. I get turned around there so often. Trust me, walk through that camera transition, do not run, or you will get yourself stuck in an infinite spin loop on that camera transition. That is a terrible camera transition, and I hate it. Alright, we're gonna have another talkie-talkie with our dad about silkworm cocoons and our shitty sister. By the way, this entire time we have been chasing around our shitty sister who wants us dead, but we're too much of a big sister lover to, there's our sister tossing a body that looks just like us off a cliff. We're just like, no, I love my sister. I'm gonna chase after her anyway. Alright. Now this game may be made by FromSoft. Okay, so right here, if he comes towards you, turn around. Do not get in that red mist cloud. This guy, until you are confident with dodging those particular enemies, play it safe. Because that little red mist cloud there, which I triggered on purpose to make sure you guys saw it, that red mist cloud can just about instant kill you. I don't think it can all the way instant kill you. It might be able to if you get a really bad angle on it, but it's a cloud of damage. And because it's a cloud of damage, it can just, if it gets you into a wall and you can't get away from it quickly enough, it will one-shot you, or at least nearly one-shot you. And that's bad, we don't want that. Alright, here, stick down. Yeah. Stick slightly left-ish down, and if you do that, 90% of the time, it's going to cause both of those enemies, called Gaki, to jump at you. And that means that you'll be able to get by them without getting hit at all. Now, here, make sure you hit, okay, through the cutscene, hit X twice. Do not hit it a 3rd time. If you hit it a 3rd time, you're going to go jumping up those rocks. That is slow. Because then you have to jump back down them. You never have to actually go up there. Alright. Now we're gonna go this way. Dark Souls is 90% muscle memory. Yes, that's why it makes a really fun speedrun to watch. Alright. Now, there's not much to explain here. I'm just following the route. Now, for a couple places in this game, pretty much just there in Yin phase, you'll use the jump ability. It's just mashing X. Mash X where there are rocks. And that is the only place where you use it in Yin phase, if I recall correctly. You're just gonna go straight up here. Now, Yin phase and Yang phase have almost the same bosses. The first couple bosses are the same. Now, one of them you fight in a different area than you do in Yang phase, but this guy will be a boss. We're gonna fight him in one area in Yin phase, one area in Yang phase. Yang phase does have more boss fights, though, like overall. Okay. If you don't use the jump there, you can't finish the game. Jump, it's a context sensitive action, like in pretty much any other video game. Alright. Now sometimes the game, it's really hard not to make wide turns there. You can see I did a wide turn, because trying to do a tight turn there is almost impossible because of the camera change. I have done it, it's just less than ideal. Alright. Now you want to spend the least amount of time on stairs as possible, so even if it looks like it will take you longer, go on a straight line downstairs. Because unlike in Fatal Frame, you can't really glitch downstairs any faster, and you are slow. Alright, that guy's gonna slide down, and now we can't go back that way. Oh yes, I know, this is where I was gonna use the doggo, by the way. Now, alright, there's some healing items here. Pick them up if you are learning. There we go. Okay. Now this is my backup strat. Normally you would do a dog, you would use the dog immediately. But because I cannot, we're going to equip these here and we're going to use fire instead. Now get up right on him. And use this. Now get up behind him and block his path. Now, because I have these extra spells, I'm using them. What you're trying to do is, if you have both the dog and the Kugutsu Onna card, which is the one that I just used, you can get through this fight much faster, but because I don't have both of them in order to sort of stun lock him, I have to sort of use myself in the place of the dog. Now, because of that, this guy does not have a lot of iframes, which is nice. Essentially, we're just beating an injured man to death. Usually you can get through this entire fight with one casting of the Kugutsu Onna and one casting of the dog card. But my dumbass didn't use the dog card, so there is backup strats you can use. That fight is generally very safe. I have not died on that fight in ages. And again, oh, see, camera angles can mess you up in this game. Okay. See. Alright. Oh no, cutscene! Okay. And that is another example of need to pick up one thing in order to trigger something else. And remember, if you are ever injured in this game, especially while you are learning it, remember that you can always heal. The only time that I would recommend not healing is during boss fights, for the reason that you get rid of all of your summons and it makes you a giant sitting duck. So we got another key item, one of those sacred cloths from that boss, and we are going to take it and open the big old dumb doors that went by earlier. You know, hard because it was just held by hand, and that's only my opinion. Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne are rhythm games. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and Demon Souls are rhythm games, and you cannot, and Sekiro, I guess, are rhythm games, and you cannot convince me otherwise. So that sacred cloth we got goes to that door. Now here you're going to press down. Make sure you go down here in order to try and get that guy to either attack you or jump at you. Ideally jump at you, but it's actually not a bad thing if he grabs you or if he hits you. Because if you try going the other direction down those stairs, sometimes you can get a little stuck, which can get you hit another 1 or 2 times. No, I cannot say fuck on GDQ, but I have gone through 2 hot fixes without swearing, so I think I'll be fine. Thankfully, this is not GDQ. This is me explaining the run, so I can do whatever the hell I want on my own live stream. Alright, go towards the tree. Alright, it is okay to run here during yin phase, but never run in this screen in yang phase. I will not show you why, because it's almost an assured instant kill. I have gotten out of the clusterfuck that happens, but I will explain that more in yang phase. Alright, so I just picked up 2 iron wedges, or whatever the hell they call them. Okay. Now you need to use them in 2 very specific spots where the wall turns all red and cracked. I don't know why the wall is all red and cracked, but it is. So you need to use the wedges there in order to break it down. Alright, so this is where my sister threw the totally not me off the cliff. So we're just gonna go by here. Now we're actually almost at the end of the game already, by the way. Alright, here you're gonna go straight down, do not pass go, do not go near the worms because they will murder you. Alright, so this room is interesting. It has an instant kill floor. Do not, under any circumstances, go through the center of this room. If you do, run is over, you have died. See? Okay. So sometimes, see it says cannot use item, I'm right in front of the trigger. This game is very particular on where you are to trigger items. See, it's still not letting me use it. Sometimes it just doesn't want to let you use things. There we go, now it did. Yes, this game prays at the altar of the wrong pixel. And because of that, it can be a pain in the butt. Alright, we are almost at the end of the game here. Just have a couple more rooms left and 1 scary part to go around. Now, if you are new to this game, that could be a time waster. It only happens once or twice, so meditate here if you need to. Because you need to wait for that guy ahead of us to go far enough ahead that we can get around him, because you generally don't want to kill this guy because it takes a lot of ammo. So you need to wait for him to go far enough ahead. Okay, that I can squeeze on by. Now, normally it's a little bit faster than that, but I also normally don't heal there anyway. The reason why I almost never healed during, oh, can you not? The reason why I almost never heal during yin phase is no matter when you use the meditate button to heal, you will always see that tutorial, and in order to save the frames and save the seconds, I never use meditate during yin phase in order to not have to go through that tutorial and to save this couple seconds. That's literally the reason. But if you are learning, please abuse meditate because this game can be a little squirrely until you get a hang of it. Also, by the way, these little transitions here are not actual loading screens. I sort of think of it as like going through a door in Fatal Frame. It's loading a similar area that's already pretty much loaded in. Alright, and you need to just dodge around these guys. Sometimes they can be right up in your way, and it makes me very sad. But, not right now, thankfully. Now, if you are playing Yin Phase, you are pretty much done with the game. Because once you go through here, I have let go of the run button. Because at this point, you can't run anymore. The game actually prevents you from running. So there's no point in holding the run button anymore. Now, time ends when you lose control of the character at the fade to black at the end of this little walkway here. Oh, my tea's getting cold. Better. And time. Ta-da! And that is how you speedrun Kuon Yin phase. That's how you speedrun Yin phase. Also, it doesn't matter if you play this game with the Japanese voice acting or the English voice acting. As far as I know, there's literally no time save either one. I just play it in Japanese because, one, I do speak some Japanese, so I do understand it. And two, just for variety. When you play this game enough times, you're like, I need to spice it up a bit. Alright. Does this game have more than one ending? No, but it does have 3 campaigns. It has the Yin phase, the Yang phase, and the Kuon phase. You can't actually access Kuon phase until you have completed both Yin phase and Yang phase at least once. The way that I think of Yin phase and Yang phase is it's sort of like the A and B scenarios in Resident Evil 2. They take place alongside each other, but you play as 2 different characters, and they have a lot of the same puzzles, even though that doesn't make any sense.